Okay, so I am going to introduce to you guys. Some of you already know James. He's actually been on Where It's Windy now before, but a lot has happened and changed since the last time James was on Where It's Windy Now, because it's probably been at least over a year, right, James, that you've been on Where It's Windy?
That would be correct.
Yeah. So James is not only the CEO and founder of his organization that he's going to talk to you guys about today, but he also is an individual that is served by Adjoin here in the San Diego area. So that's like a win-win, right? So James, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you. And if you want to share the screen, I have changed it so that you can share your screen if you like.
In a minute. So, hi everybody. Good to see you guys. I run a nonprofit where we provide resources very similar to what Adjoin does, very similar to what Regional Center does, but in a broader scope. My organization, we provide resources, advocacy services, educational services to colleges or even high schools of students that may want to be social workers, or such as in your guys' position. So we will go to colleges and stuff and speak to students about that. Our main focus is helping people with disabilities learn how to advocate for themselves by providing them resources, education. A lot of times, as you guys know, in the field, people with disabilities are very embarrassed about having a disability. So they're not, it's like an offense to ask them what, about their disability. And it's trying to break them out of that shell. I know you guys also serve veterans, and that's another area. People who are fully body able throughout their entire life, and all of a sudden injury happens. It is easier for them to just be angry and why do I have this? Instead of learning how to cope and deal with their disability, because it's, as I said, you're angry at the world when that happens. It's like, why, God, why did you let me do this? Why did this happen to me? So it's helping them break that shell. The majority of my board is made up of individuals with disabilities, including a Vietnam veteran who is a good friend of mine. So the scope there is broad, but it's unique in that way. The resources that are on my website, which I'll show you guys here in a second, are not just state of California, they're across the country. I've not seen one website that has just resources across the country. So I'm going to share the screen right now. I already have the website up. Wait 1 second. So obviously, are you guys able to see the screen? Obviously, you can see the website here. We also have an app download version of the website that's free of charge on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Just to give a little bit of our history here. Right now, I only have, hold on. Mouse is, there we go. So right now, move you guys out of the way here. So I can get to the scroller. Right now, we only have 3 board members listed on the website, but we have at least 5 or 6 board members. I just haven't been able to update them. The gentleman I was telling you about, that's a Vietnam vet, his name is Michael Gerchek. As I said, good friend of mine. He is a fighter for this organization. He is out there hitting the grindstone, pushing things out. And so am I, but it's my main focus is trying to get the word out there. His main focus is trying to bring get people with disabilities to know. Mine is to get organizations in other places to know, mainly. But we are also having a fundraiser come in August 8th, out near my place. And 20%, it's at Bullweevil, it's gonna be from 5 to 9. 20% of all the proceeds go back to the organization. None of the board members get paid and none of the board members will get paid because the belief of the board is that it is an all volunteer mission. We are always looking for, right now it's just me and the board going out there. So we are also looking for volunteers. To give a little bit of example, and I know I only have, till what time, Wendy? 10:30? Is that correct?
Yes, you have 20 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Because I want to stop at about 5 minutes before for question and answer. So roughly around 10:25, if anybody has questions. So to give a little history here, as I said, right now it's just me and the board. But this fundraiser that we're having, it's going to help help in the mission of putting people, getting people with disabilities out of their shell. One of the visions I've gotten is to take people with disabilities out on a camping trip where we can work on their emotional, spiritual, and mental health. Getting them, being able to get them out of their shell, as I said earlier. That's one of the visions I have. One of the other visions that I have is I would like to see organizations like this cross-country. What I would actually prefer to do is travel the country, being able to talk about the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, how their policies are interpreted, how they, for example, COVID. Let's just use the most recent example. Under the state health order, if the masks were still going on, certain medical conditions are exempt from wearing a mask in public unless it's a doctor's office or a hospital. I was one of those. While the state was good in implementing the policy, they were horrible about educating the policy to businesses. So I would go into businesses and stuff and they'd be like, you have to have a mask. No, I don't, because I fall under this exemption. And so I'd have to carry the health order everywhere I went to educate the companies that no, you cannot force somebody like myself who has a hard time putting a mask on, let alone wearing it, to be put in a position in that situation. So it's trying to make up those gaps of educating people with disabilities, educating companies, any type of business that there are certain things you can do, there are certain things you can't. And it is a juggle because while you don't want to offend the business, at the same time, you want to be able to bring that education in. Growing up throughout life, and I'm gonna throw a shout out to Becky real quick because she was my IL worker for 7+ years. So she knows a bit of the history there and was able to bear me that long, surprisingly enough. But growing up throughout life, I had to learn to fight my way through life. I had to learn how to, I'm a fighter, not physically anymore, but trying to get where I'm at today was difficult. This nonprofit would not have been in place if it weren't for a year ago, me having the guts to go to court against my family and fight them to get the conservatorship, which was in place, terminated, which the judge obliged. She actually said he has to learn how to get up, pull up his bootstraps, and figure out stuff on his own. So that blew the door wide open for this to be able to take effect. And it's been a blessing, but at the same time, it's been a challenge. Since we're limited on board members, I have to juggle a lot of that stuff. Doing the budgeting, doing the keeping track on the money, which for me, money is not an easy thing for me to deal with. So I'm having to juggle all that and learn at the same time. The other portion I do want to show you, if you guys can still see the screen, I'm going to kick off of it here in a sec. But these are all of the different state resources. Scroll down some. We have a ton of different state resources. Let's see here. Let's just check out California real quick. Because that's the majority of the resources are here in California. So all the resource links are drop downs. It's easier for me, and I hate reading through, you know, I built the website myself. So one thing I've learned is no person that comes to a website wants to go to a website where they have to browse a whole page of links. So to be able to put it in a drop-down format like this allows for them just to, okay, there it is, click on it and hit go. It's a lot easier to do it that way. I try to keep it simple on the website because again, I've gone to websites where there's 50 million hyperlinks and it's like, click, buy, because I don't have the attention span to read through all of it and try to figure out where I need to go. What else here? So as I told you, we have we also have an app. I do not personally believe anybody with a disability should have to pay a dime for anything. I believe either their faith-based community or the general public, AKA taxpayer, should be the one to pick up that slack. There are those that do have jobs, granted, awesome. I worked at SeaWorld in 2012, so I know. So while I do believe not a person with a disability should not have to pay a dime for anything, at the same time, I'm still on the fence about those that have jobs because they are paying into that community, you know, paying into the system. So this gives, actually, this is an old video. I'll have to update that. I also do training videos. I do podcasts. I haven't done a podcast in a few weeks since I got back from Mexico. I had the opportunity to go to Israel in March and Mexico on a missions trip with my church last month. So, and then after I got back, came down with a head cold for 3 weeks. So I haven't been doing much. Sorry, my mouth is going dry. Wendy, you want to jump in here and have anything?
Yeah, I would love to, James. And other people may have questions as well. I'm fortunate because, James, I know a lot about this and what you've done and how hard you've worked and a little bit more of your story. But one of the things, James, I did want to ask, so the website, James, did you have somebody build that for you?
No, I built it up myself. All
And
myself.
how about the app, James? Did you do
the app I did not build.
Okay.
I paid somebody, a guy in India with the stimulus money from the Trump era to build it. He charged me, what was it, $150 for the iOS version and $40 for the Android version. And if there are any updates I need, he usually just charges $40 for both. And he actually will go into and I give him permission to, he'll go into my Google developer account and my Apple developer account and submit it to both of the entities himself. Google only charged me a one-time $20 fee for the developer account. Apple charges a $100 fee or $99, I rounded up, per year to keep their subscription going.
Oh yeah, that Apple, I tell you, they're pricey, huh?
Oh, they're
James,
extremely pricey. Yeah.
And then I'm gonna ask one more question, and then I'm gonna want you to see if anybody else has any questions.
Absolutely.
But I would love to hear what was the hardest part for you to actually make this an actual organization? Because it's a 50c3, is that correct?
It is. It's an actual 50c3, 501c3.
What was the hardest part of turning your passion into that?
Financially. That was the hardest part.
Mhm.
My brother when they were my conservators, because my brother was co-conservator, my mom asked him to check with his friend and see how much it cost him to start a 501c3. His friend said 10 grand. No, it didn't cost me near that. I think I paid close to 500. And the blessing was, and Pebbles, I'm sorry, but the blessing is the trust helped me out with that to initially get the process going. So, and I do appreciate that trust, believe me. Yeah, and I call Pebbles on this one because she sits on the board for the Special Needs Trust Foundation. And I know she's on here.
Well, James, I just want to let you know there are a lot of people out there that
Yeah.
talk about starting their own nonprofit and don't. So I just
Right.
wanted to ask those questions because not only during this time were you doing a lot of things to be able to have the choice and the ability to do this, like going to courts, but you also did something that many people talk about, but never do. So I just want to say that I love hearing your story. I love to see how much you have achieved in the last year. And that includes, updating your website, getting board members. I'm struggling with that. So I just want to point that out.
You want
that
me
it
to
is
join?
quite an achievement. But with that, James, do you want to open it up to see if anybody else has any questions or thoughts on what you've presented and talked about?
Absolutely. If anybody has anything, don't be frightened.
Well, I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I was his worker for 8+ years, and I have never met anybody that is so passionate about advocacy for people with disability as him. He definitely has that passion, and he just didn't sit on his heels. He did something about it. So very proud of him.
Thank you.
So James, it's Terry.
Yeah.
Can you share back and can you show us how your accessibility is? I think it's important that some people realize how accessible you've got the, I've been onto the website because you shared it with me before, that you have like the large font for somebody who has some visual impairments. So
I do. Unfortunately, that's being hidden right now somehow. Okay. I just noticed that.
Okay.
Let me go back and pull it up real quick. Sorry, Wendy. Because I closed out.
Don't apologize, James. It happens almost weekly on Where's Wendy Now. Technology and me just don't get along. So I feel your pain.
There it is. It's hidden because of the light that I have here.
Okay.
So give me one
second. If you can't show, can you just
absolutely
share a little bit about what that is so that people understand the different parts of the accessibility that you have on there?
Right, absolutely. So one of the biggest things is you see this little blue wheelchair guy here on the right. So we have there's a thing here, you can mark the headings, which just allows a person to be able to read it and be able to see the text better. You also have background color, which I can't stand this color, but it's the default color for it. So I just kept it. You have zoom out in case you're farsighted and it's easier for you to read. You also have zoom in case you're nearsighted like myself. Get out of there. There we go. You also have decrease font, not one I would recommend unless you're really able to see that. You also have increase font, basically very similar to the zoom in, zoom out. And then you have readable font. I'm not exactly sure what that one does because it really has, that one is not necessarily workable with me. You also have the bright contrast, which allows it just to be complete white background for those that have a hard time seeing color wise. And then you also have the dark contrast. You also
I just think it's amazing because we do have people who with vision issues that sometimes they need that larger font, or to have that contrast changed. So I just thought it was pretty amazing that we have this website, that he's done everything he can to make it as accessible to different people. So thank you, James.
Yeah, and then the last feature we have is the marked links. So it, just like we had the mark headers, you have the mark links, so it tells you where the links are at on the page. Unfortunately, due to the limitations of the app, all the links are not new window pop opens. So I can't change that. The developers can't change that. Any other questions before we hit the 10:30 mark?
Yeah, James, I was going to ask, who does your who provides your web development service? Who do you use for your web site?
For the hosting and type of thing, I use HostGator. I've used them for a little over a year now. I use One-on-One Ionis for the domains because they offer free privacy where it'll hide your personal information. When somebody goes to say who.godaddy.com and types in the URL, if it's public, you get your name, address, email, they can see everything. Whereas if it's private, it gives the domain server, the domain company's name, such as GoDaddy or One-on-One Ionis, gives their contact info. And the thing is HostGator charges like $15 a year for the privacy, where most domain companies now have gone to free along with the domain. I am going to be looking for a different hosting provider within the next year because the hosting is up for renewal. And most likely I'm looking for one that will discount for nonprofits, because there are those out there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Any last questions for James? So James, they can get a hold of you by going through your website, correct? And I put your
Correct.
website
They
link.
can get a hold of me through the feedback form, which is this here. I don't think it's down here. Do I have it? No. I specifically at the time did not put my phone numbers on there because then I'd have to put my address, and right now the nonprofit's being ran out of my own apartment.
Yeah.
Once I get a PO box, all that address stuff will be updated to a new way. But this actually, when you fill out this form, it goes directly to me and my other board members.
Okay. So James, if somebody is working with an individual and they have questions about advocacy, or even just wanting some of your wisdom, like how did you learn how to do a website? And honestly, how do you find all the things that you have found that are cost effective and specifically related to people with disabilities?
For the most
Would
part,
people
it's
be able
called
to
Google.
reach out to you for that?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll put the phone numbers and fax and my email in the chat so that
Okay.
people can go back and view it.
Great. Well, I don't know if you can see all the chats, James, but there's several in there just congratulating you on your success and wishing you success. Thanks so much for coming on today and sharing it with everyone. And again, just from me, James, you've done so much in the last year and a half, like more than some people do in half of their lifetime or even in their lifetime. So I wish you the best of luck as well. And if you feel I can help, as we've talked about, there are some conflicts, but if I can help, you can always reach out and I'll see what I can do. Okay.